Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're going to talk about how car dealerships just got even shadier. With that being said, let's get into the video. So let's talk about these shady car dealers, or shady car dealer rather, but there could be other dealerships that are doing the same practice, they just haven't been caught. So a Kentucky used car dealership was just charged, well, the owner rather, $4.3 million they have to pay back to Toyota for this truck buying scheme that they got themselves into. Very creative, but in the wrong way. So basically, what they were doing is they were buying brand new Toyota trucks at wholesale value, and they were selling them back to Toyota for 150% of what they paid for them. Now you guys are probably wondering, first off, how can they do that? So in today's market, right, supply and demand has caused prices to skyrocket. So if you're able to purchase vehicles at true wholesale value right now with new cars, then that means that you can make massive profits because everything's selling for over sticker. And so basically what they're doing is they're going to these Toyota dealerships and they're buying these trucks at wholesale value, and then they're going and selling them back to the dealership, and the dealership then sells it as a used vehicle, but they're not paying that person wholesale value back. They're paying them what the used car market value is on that truck, which is 150% of wholesale value. So suffice to say, this used car dealer was making massive profits, and that's why they owe Toyota $4.3 million in this whole scheme. Now, the way they were getting a hold of so many trucks is they were actually using other people's driver's licenses and their names to then put on these trucks that they were selling, so that it wasn't putting up any red flags with Toyota's system, because it was just a bunch of different people that were purchasing these trucks and then selling them back. And so, Toyota probably thought, this is a little bit weird, but it's not, maybe these people just didn't like a product and they, wanted to go to something else, so they wanted a different truck, right? And on top of that, this dealership also was forging these people's signatures on checks to then get themselves paid massive amounts of money. So we've got to answer a few questions. The first one is, how do they get these people's information? So again, this is a used car dealer that's doing this. And so with being a used car dealer, you're going to have people go on test drives, and you're going to have people purchase vehicles from you. With people going on test drives, you have to get their driver's license information so that you know that they have a valid driver's license. And typically dealerships will send a salesperson with someone to go on a test drive, so that the vehicle's insured under the dealership's insurance. That's typically how it goes. So if an accident happens, right, everything's covered, but they at least have to get a driver's license. And then if you buy a car, same thing, got to get a driver's license copy so that everything's official with the state. And so that's how this used car dealer could have gotten all these people's driver's licenses, is it was just their customers, basically. And then in terms of the signatures, if you buy a vehicle, there's a ton of different documents you have to sign. And so what this used car dealer could have done is just gone through the paperwork that they had signed by this person, right? Because you got to keep that stuff. And then they could have just done, signature forging techniques and gotten that onto the checks. And then that's how they were able to do that onto the checks. So again, completely illegal, obviously, super shady stuff. And the person's going to prison for 6 years because of all this stuff. Between money wire fraud and identity theft and all that. But there is a silver lining to this story. So all these people that had their, identity stolen technically are probably not going to be too negatively impacted, because this dealership was purchasing these cars, these Toyotas, with cash. They weren't financing them, right? Because if you pay cash, then they could easily, quickly flip it, because if you finance it, right, then you've got to go pay off the loan, all that kind of stuff, and it's just more paperwork, more hassle. But if you do cash deals, then there is a lot less parties involved, and so then it makes it easier to, in this situation, commit fraud, right? But it also makes it so that it's just a quicker transaction overall. But that's where the silver lining comes in, is these people probably didn't have anything really impact them, right? Again, it's still bad to get your identity stolen, but at the same time, these people's credit score was not affected, most likely. Again, we don't have any confirmation on that, but most likely. And so for these people, all they're probably going to get is, hey, by the way, you bought a Toyota truck and then sold that Toyota truck because this dealership stole your identity because they had your driver's license. And they're going to be like, oh, okay, right? And, people rightfully are probably going to be upset. But, for their day-to-day lives and for their lives going into the future, it probably won't really have a true negative impact. Now, if the dealership had financed the cars with these people's information and used their credit, that would have been a whole nother story. And I'm sure this person would be facing a sentence that is far worse than the sentence they're facing now. When I say worse, I mean longer, because that would have just negatively impacted a massive amount of people. And so, yeah, again, that's kind of the silver lining to the story. And I guess that this is where I want to cap things off and talk about how other dealerships could potentially be doing this. I don't see this being done at like a large franchised dealership. You never know, right? But I don't see that happening. But a lot of these small used car lots that are just independently owned, I could see it happening because of today's market where car values are so overinflated and you can make so much money buying and selling new cars, right? It could be tempting for a lot of these dealers to just get some quick cash. I mean, when this guy, I mean, $4.3 million is life-changing, right? It's a life-changing amount of money. For a lot of people, that's more than enough that, like, if you invest it properly, you'll be set for the rest of your life, right? And so it's not, and so it could be tempting for a lot of these used car dealers to do something similar if they have the right connection with new car dealerships where they're able to get new cars for cheap and do it under all these people's names. You know what this guy did, right? The temptation is there. So there could be other dealerships out there actively doing this right now. We just haven't heard about it. So I guess that is the scary part about this story. Hopefully it's not happening, but you know, you don't know until you know in this case. But anyways, that's going to sum things up. I want you guys to let me know what you think about this story, and if you think that there needs to be, you know, more regulation in terms of what dealerships have to do with people's information, because there is quite a bit of regulation. But obviously, I mean, this happened, right? So this shows that dealerships can, you know, if they can actively choose to break the law, and so maybe there needs to be some sort of like entity that goes in and checks dealerships and makes sure that they're not using people's information for certain things. I don't know, right? It's completely beyond me. But let me know what you guys think, and I'll see all of you in the next video.